cases of human beings who don't have the genetic coding needed to develop the structures property what could instantiate. I think your view has the same problems because we have cases of, say, human beings who, or at least there are possible cases of human beings who don't have the genetic coding needed to develop the structures needed for rational faculties, or maybe even their genetic coding causes them to develop in some way that's incompatible with that.
No, I agree with that, but my view is also.
Oh, that's an interesting argument.
So that human beings who, through some kind of a disability or disease, will no longer have the ability to have rational thoughts, that they are still persons with a right to life. They are persons who have the same dignity as anyone else in spite of their disability. So they'd be owed, for example, care, food, water, comfort, to be treated in a dignified way, whereas we would not merely euthanize them like a cat or a dog.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, whatever makes it the case that these individuals are still members of a rational kind, that can't be something about their actual physical structures, or really even about having the intrinsic capacity to develop it. Well, I mean, if they don't have the right DNA, it's unclear exactly what that comes to. So I think, I'm not saying you can't make it work. I'm just saying, I think whatever you say, it's going to be something that's not apparent just from looking at the physical structure. It almost has to be a telos or something. And I think that then I can say something that mirrors that about, oh, okay, so we have minds of a certain sort, or they develop in a certain way when things go well. And even if my mind, in fact, doesn't, I have a very basic mind and it can't grow anymore. Well, it seems like that is on a par to me with the other.
So how about we do this? How about we go through each of Trent's arguments one by one, and we try to point out, because right now, I mean, we are speaking very general, broad brushstrokes, and I'm trying to think for the audience. They're like, okay, how is that?
That might be helpful. We could do that however brief we need to for each one, and then that will allow us to go through Dustin's case briefly, however one by one, so we don't miss stuff.
Yeah. So let's do the first argument. I think it was roughly along the lines of it's wrong to intentionally kill innocent human beings. That's the central premise. Dustin, how would you interact with that?
So it's wrong to intentionally kill biological human beings. What that means is human organisms.
Yeah.
I say I'm happy to grant that it's wrong to intentionally kill, or at least it's usually wrong, rather, intentionally kill beings like us. I say that we're not human organisms, though.
So that's the premise you would reject.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we would end up in the discussion we had just prior to this as to why you would reject that. But
this is why I say the personal identity. This is why I want to talk about.
No, I agree. But I think it's helpful to move through it because different people, because obviously, right, this isn't a debate, right? This is a discussion where, and I think I want to bring up some interesting points for everyone to chew on. Because like with any argument or any position, people will find different things that are persuasive to them or not persuasive to them. Because there are some people who defend the permissibility of abortion who would actually find all 5 of my arguments persuasive, but they would do a Thompson bodily rights argument instead. So with this particular argument, would you say this argument is something a person, let me start with this. Do you think that it is at least a valid argument?
Is it logically valid, you
yes.
mean? I assume, I haven't seen it right now, but I assume it is.
Yeah, sure. So then from there, if someone held the position that it is wrong to directly kill human organisms, then this argument should be persuasive to them. It should be something they should endorse. Would you, I don't know what you would think about that.
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay, that's great, because I think a lot of people who oppose abortion could actually be brought around with that premise, so they already believe it.
Yeah.
And so I
think that's because they haven't clearly differentiated what we think we are,
Sure. But what I want to do is to always meet people where they're at, like David Boonin does in his book, Defense of Abortion. The strongest argument will rely on premises that another person accepts. So for many people, if that premise about human intrinsic value, if that's important to them, and it is even for many non-religious people, then I think this is an argument that they should take seriously or may even need to be obliged to take seriously. So
that's the first argument. Maybe we should just go on to the second one, if that's cool.
Sure.
So the second one, as I have it, is the personhood argument. It's basically Trent's account of personhood, I believe, was an individual member of a rational kind, and of course, as such, would have an innate capacity for rationality. And he gave a kind of inference to the best explanation for why this is the right account of personhood. He basically said it was for at least the uncontroversial cases of persons. This is an extensionally adequate account. That is to say, it captures all and only those at least uncontroversial cases. It rules out ones that we don't want to include or that we don't think should be included within the category of persons, and it rules in the ones that we think that we should include. And it's unifying, it's illuminating, and so on. So that's the basic. And of course, given that account, it would follow that the fetus, because it's an individual member of a rational kind, would be a person, and so wrong to kill. That's the basic thrust of the argument.
Yeah, and it seems like we kind of are in a lot of agreement on this main point, that it's wrong to kill individual members of a rational kind. It seems like where we disagree is on what particular facts make us a member of a rational kind. The Dustin, your view seems to be what makes us a member of a rational kind is the possession of a particular physical structure in the brain, I guess, versus my view that it's belonging to a particular kind of organism or species.
I wouldn't frame it that way. I would say we have a disagreement about what we are.
Okay.
Yeah, the metaphysics of
I think that we're an object composed of,
your hypothetical view.
Yeah. I think that we're an object composed of certain parts of our brain.
Do you believe we belong to a kind?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm happy to say that we belong to a rational kind. We have the rational kinds of minds. There's some sense in which it's fine to say that I'm of the kind human being because I'm embodied in a human organism. It's just that's not an am of numerical identity or something.
And you
So-
don't take that to be essential, right? Because if
Yeah,
you were,
yeah, it's
if
not
we
essential.
took your little cerebrum and put it in, let's
Yeah,
say, a
because my
cyborg,
cerebrum could no longer be embodied in a human organism.
yeah, it could go into a cyborg, and
Yeah.
you say it would still exist. And I think it's kind of intuitive.
We'll see.
Uh-oh.
All right. So we belong. It seems like, because I want to figure out from your position, it seems that you would, because you're talking about moral intuitions a lot in your ethical statement, that we think that it's, so what can account for late trimester abortions being much worse than earlier trimester abortions. But you would agree, though, that most people have very strong intuitions that it's not immoral to fumigate a barn to kill a bunch of rats, but it would be immoral to fumigate a house to get rid of squatters, for example, even though squatters can be very annoying.
Yeah.
And so what would your explanation be for we have
Wait, what?
a bunch of rats? Most people have very strong intuitions that it's not immoral to fumigate a barn to kill a bunch of rats, but it would be immoral to fumigate a house to get rid of squatters, for example, even though squatters can be very annoying.
Yeah.
And so what would your explanation be for here are entities that both have minds that respond to environment, they direct movement of the organism. What is the difference between these two kinds of beings that's morally essential, morally relevant?
Well, I think it's just going to be what we were saying a minute ago. I think there are ways in which different sorts of treatment between humans and animals are going to be merited, even if we have the same intrinsic moral status. And there's a big philosophical literature about this. But if we want to say that there's a difference in moral status, I think that I can say it's the stuff about being members of a rational kind, just like you say. It's just we have a difference about our ontology.
Yeah. What?
Yo, I don't want to talk to you about the pragmatic papers and streams. Maybe later. Okay, listen. I'm training, preparing my mind. Okay.
What makes us a member of what makes a being a member of a rational kind?
Yeah, and so the premise basically that you'd be rejecting, Dustin, so it's something like a person, the right account of personhood is an individual member of a rational kind. A fetus is an individual member of a rational kind, so the fetus is a person, persons have a right to life, so a fetus has a right to life. It's something like that. So I'm guessing, Dustin, you would reject that premise that a fetus is an individual member of a rational kind. No, the members of the rational
early
kind.
on. Yeah,
early on. If the members of the rational kind are it's like the minds, it's like the physical object that you're pointing out, and that's a dispute over what we, as in the individual members of rational kinds, are. So you'd reject that premise that an early on fetus is an individual member of a rational kind because it doesn't have that mind, and that's what we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and I'm looking for clarification as to how can I know that being X is a member of a rational kind? Like, how do I know a rat is not a member of a rational kind, but a newborn infant is?
Yeah, I'm saying I think that's a good question. I'm saying I think it's difficult for everyone because if you want to say all humans are members of rational kinds and no animals are, you have to say that even humans who don't possess the structures, never will, have DNA that prevents them from ever possessing it, that they're still members of the kind. And maybe there's a way to do that by looking at what's statistically normal or looking at something teleological. Well, had they developed properly, they would have whatever. And I'm saying whatever that is, I think I can say the same thing. I mean, maybe it's look at is there some possible world where they're rational? I think there might be some possible world where the rat is rational if you give it the right gene therapy, though. So it gets a little tricky. But I think it's hard, but I think that's part of your position too.
Okay, so your answer seemed to be, I don't really have an answer as to how to define why a rat is not a member of a rational kind, but an infant is. And I don't really need to answer the question because nobody can sufficiently answer it.
Yeah, I'm saying I think that I can say some analog of whatever you wind up saying. The problems are serious, but they afflict any attempt to differentiate beings along species lines in this way, I say.
And I would just vigorously disagree with that. I would just say your position is just piggybacking off of mine that would look at an organism's intrinsic capacities to develop qua organism as a whole being, as to what kind of abilities it has. That I would say that abilities belong to organisms, even if there are necessary parts of an organism that are needed for the ability to be carried out. So, my eyes are necessary for seeing, but it's not literally my eyes that see. It is I that see as an organism. Now, you could maybe bracket it as it's just the optical neural framework, but I think that it really is. It makes perfect sense to say that I, the human organism, see things and respond.
Does you, the entire organism, see things? If you cut off your arm, you can still see things. If you cut off your leg, you can still see things. If you crush your brain, like, where is visual processing happening? No?
I would just say of this particular view, I think it's more intuitive that when we speak about kinds, things like organisms make more sense and are identifiable, and there's nothing contradictory about it. But trying to place it into, well, it's when you have, if what we are minds in a particular physical structure, and a fetus doesn't have that physical structure yet, I'm sure you could look at rats or elephants or dolphins, and and even among human beings, there are different kinds of physical structures that are not 100% uniform that give sentience. but it seems like it's not the structures themselves; it's the being that gives rise to the structures that is the member of the kind.
So we're getting into territory that's going to be relevant to the thinking animal argument, which I think you also did.
Wait. Canute memes. He's confronting a scamming car dealer.
Market value 58k.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me see this one.
Maybe they mounted lifting kit and the wheels and stuff like that to make it more easy to sell and make people not look into the history.
Yeah.
You know, like convince the buyer easy.
Yeah, maybe. Now we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see. So what would you suggest? What would you have accepted, Red Nail?
Like, that is up to yourself, right?
No, but what would you have accepted?
No, but yeah, but if it was...
It was you buying this.
Me? If it was me, I would like think like this, okay, yeah, okay, so this happened, but I still want the truck, right?
If you, yeah.
Just go to the GMC Sierra 1584X and ask 15k off. Seems good.
Yeah, because this, like, it's hard. Because when you're gonna sell it later, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah. Then we only accept the refund.
Yeah, just base of that being a hassle in the future.
Yeah.
That it's gonna be, it's only gonna be able to be sold to a dealership, I think.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to sell it privately.
No, but then it's an easy choice. That is the only thing. Then it's easy choice. Yeah. We need to have it refunded. Yeah. That's simple. Because that's what I care about.
If that wasn't a problem, but like the reselling part, then I would be like, compensation.
Absolutely ask them to unwind this and get a refund.
Let's say they suggested minus 25k, half the price.
Easy choice to keep it. I mean,
then you would have kept it.
It's a lot of truck for those money.
Yeah.
But I've dealt with dealers before, and they're not really willing to give money. I only did that deal with my Silverado when I traded in my AMG.
Yeah.
That was the only reason I was able to get, like, I think I got 125k from him, and they would never do that.
No.
They would never give you money in between.
No.
But that was a good deal for me, at least, and it was a good deal for him as well. But it is really hard with money and dealers.
So then the only thing we should have accept at this point, which is that they take it back.
Yeah. Considering it's in America, I mean, there's more cars, right? There's more cars, right? You're living in Texas.
I mean, there's more cars.
Yeah, you can. Maybe they have something else. Maybe they can give you a better deal on some more expensive cars, like the Blackwing, maybe.
No, but that is too expensive.
No, that's okay. Like, that's the only reason I would consider it.
Yeah.
The dealer's wallet is tighter than Knut's booty shorts. The only thing you can accept is that you're bald. You will always get scammed, baldy omega lol.
True.
I know you're upset right now, but I feel like...
I'm not that upset. Chat is more upset than me. I know we can fix it since we did it fast. If they don't fix this, it's worse advertisement ever, since we have filmed the process when they were delivering it and everything. That would be fun to see.
There's no scenario they're not fixing it. No scenario.
I can't see. Well, then they're insane.
They will never do that. They will never do that.
This isn't like a small corner dealership.
Carnute, look on the bright side. At least you aren't a Rob 221.
That is true.
And also, were there no documentation of this?
I think you tell them to give you a great deal on a different car there. That would be the best solution.
But, you know, like when you're buying a European car, you get like all the receipts and everything, like service receipts. You know.
Okay, what's going on? What have I missed?
About this?
Nothing.
Nothing. That is crazy. Then they really try to hide it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I looked at a car. I can remember one AMG, and
what's going on?
We just got there.
Hi, good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Hey, how's it going? All right, we got it all set up.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. I appreciate y'all letting me take care of y'all throughout the process. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you. We have a lot. How many people are watching now? 3 Series BMW, yes.
Love it, love it.
2026 5 Series it is.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of my major demos. So take this and
2,400 people are watching, so chat. It is not the BMW, but it's this one. It's this one.
Wait, so this is what he bought?
keep it fun. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
They faked his Carfax. Apparently, Cheddar looked up the truck. It was wrecked, branded, salvage title, and rebuilt. Dealer did not disclose. Is that true? Like 100%? Or imagine
Carfax, and had me read through them.
Yeah.
And sign that I had seen it on the paper, that I had seen the Carfax.
Yeah.
So that there's 100. I am back. I'm outside the dealership now.
What the fuck are these ads?
He just was with another client, the guy.
Holy shit.
Then again, the truck on the pictures, they have taken everything apart.
Yeah.
They've taken all the front end panels and everything, so it looks worse than it is as well.
Of course.
When all the panels are all off and you're like, oh, what the fuck, everything is broken. But it's, yeah.
What movie is this?
Not that big damage.
Wicked for Good, wow.
Let me look at some pictures there. I mean, the front is clearly just cosmetic damages.
Yeah, because you can see all the structural components are still square.
Yeah.
They're still looking good.
The radiator is not fucked up.
The radiator?
It's like...
Okay, done with this. Back to this.
Yeah, so maybe we should pick this up in a minute.
Well, here's the thing. How long have we been going, Joe, on mine? An hour.
So the 30-minute mark is coming up in 9 minutes.
Could we, because we talked a lot about personal identity. I mean, if you want to bring up something, I mean...
Well, you gave those two arguments, and we've largely looked at the first one. Maybe we should look at the second one.
Okay. What do you mean the second one? Wait.
Your arguments for animalism.
Oh, yeah.
Your third one.
Yeah. Animalism. I think I only gave a second one about, but it's not really germane to your case because I talked about a collection of thoughts and you're saying no, I'm not just a collection of thoughts, so it wouldn't apply necessarily to the case that you're making.
Well, you did say, I thought you were giving a version of Eric Olson's thinking animal argument, which was, well, surely the animal is thinking.
Oh yeah.
Aren't you the animal? Yeah, okay.
And now he just gave like I see something else, like these kind of ordinary statements. You don't say like my visual cortex sees or something like that. So maybe you can address that cluster of worries, Dustin.
Yeah. So all right. The thinking animal argument says, look, animals think, I think. So if I'm not the animal, there are two things thinking here, right? And there are two things thinking here. And if there are two things thinking here, how do I know I'm not the animal? Maybe, whatever. Okay. The thinking animal argument is paralleled by the thinking parts argument. The thinking parts argument says, well, brains think or minds think, don't they? And so if I'm not the mind, then there are two things thinking here. And I think that these are quite parallel. So here's what I want to say. I think there are two ways to solve this.
Okay.
One is an eliminativist route. And this is actually what Peter Van Inwagen and Trent Merricks and Eric Olson all say. This is what the leading animalists say. They say, actually, I don't have a mind or a brain or hands or kidneys or a digestive system. The only composite objects are organisms. And so that's why there's only one thinker, because there's only the organism here. And this is the Embodied Minds Marxism paper. I say, if we go that route, actually, we should think the only objects are minds, because actually, I don't have a mind or a brain or hands or kidneys or a digestive system. The only composite objects are organisms. And so that's why there's only one thinker, because there's only the organism here. And this is the embodied mind sparsism paper. I say, if we go that route, actually we should think the only objects are minds. Because what is the justification for saying organisms are the only composite objects? It's something like they're the only sorts of things that possess irreducible properties that can't be, decoherent into the simples, or they're the only things that possess a functional unity of the right sort to say blah, blah. I say, no, that's a mind. That's what possesses the irreducible property. That is what has provides a unified perspective on the world.
Is this the no human animals view?
The no human animals view? Yeah. So if we go this route, then yes. I would say there aren't any organisms. There's only the mind, and that's why there's only one thinking thing. And that sounds wild, but we're responding to people who say there's no mind, there's no brain, there's no hands, there's only the organism. Okay.
Yeah, you're giving these two responses. That's the eliminate this one. Yeah. What's the second one?
Suppose we don't say that. Another response is to say somehow the mind and the organism are not thinking in the same sense. One of them maybe is thinking only in some derivative sense that's not real thinking. And what I say is, okay, what is the thing that really in its own right thinks? It's the mind. The organism thinks only in the sense that it has a part that is thinking, but that doesn't mean that the organism as a whole is really thinking. It's just it possesses a part that's thinking. And so it's the same thing as the car makes a noise, the car horn makes a noise, but there aren't two different noises. What's going on? Oh, well, the horn made the noise, and in virtue of having the horn as a part, there's some derivative sense in which the car made the noise. So I say, in the sense that really matters, it's actually not true that organisms are rational or are conscious. They're only so in this derivative sense, which is that they're connected in some way to a mind. I think it's, if we go this derivative route, so I thought the eliminativism was better if you go the only minds than only organisms. I also think this is better because it really does seem like the mind is the thing that thinks in its own right, and the organism is the thing that has its part. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, and so I guess to be brief on that, because I want to get to, we have so much ground to cover. I'm not going to belabor the point. I think that many people will. I do think that the claim there are no human animals is much more controversial than even what some of the claims that other animalists would make about our identities. I also think the way that we relate to our bodies and to the bodies of other people is not merely that we are not the little some kind of neural structure inside. I worry that this view is not actually accord with the normal intuitions we have about when something happens to our bodies, it happens to me. That it's what it reminds me of. It's like that scene in Men in Black, and the aliens were going to blow up the world in the original Men in Black. They're at the diner, they get killed by the cockroach. Did you see Men in Black?
A long time ago. I think I know the scene you're talking about.
They get killed by the cockroach guy, and it turns out it's this little guy piloting this human robot body or whatever. And that it's like who we are is really just only this neural mass up in here, and the rest is not really. It's a part of ours, but it's not us. I actually don't find that very.
I don't want to. Okay, so I said earlier that sometimes people use language, and the language can kind of key you in on what's happening intuitively under the hood. I don't want to over-index on that because maybe you say a thing, and there could be other stuff going on. But like, I feel like we feel like a thing. And the body that we have is like a possession of ours, not the thing that we are. Because I feel like we talk about ourselves that way, kind of. As in, like, if somebody were to kick you, right? Oh, he kicked me. Where did he hit you? He kicked my knee. My knee. Like, my knee is a thing that I own. Or he punched my boob. My boob is a thing that I own. But then who is the I there? Does the thing own itself? Not really. I don't think it does. I don't think we employ language that way. I might be over-indexing on the intuitions here, but I feel like we feel like a thing that is somewhat separated by something, but we own or we have like possession of in some way the parts of our body. That's the feeling that I get. Obviously, I'm more on this guy's side than this guy's, but
and the rest is not really. It's a part of ours, but it's not us. I actually don't find that very plausible. But.
Sorry, well, can you say again the first thing?
Like only this neural mass up in here, and the rest is not really. It's a part of ours, but it's not us. I actually don't find that very plausible. But
sorry, well, can you say again the first thing that you just said? I wanted to respond to both.
The no human animals. I think
yes, the no human animals. Okay, so
I think it's a very controversial premise.
I agree that that's very controversial. But remember, dialectically, I'm saying if you go eliminativist to solve the thinking parts problem, I can say that. And no human animals, I don't think is more controversial than no brains or no kidneys or no hands or anything like that. For the second thing, I do agree that we think of ourselves as if we were our bodies, and certainly we speak that way. Morally, our relationship to our bodies is not just that of mere property or something. But
he just said the exact opposite of what I said. Maybe he has a different view on it.
And certainly we speak that way. Morally, our relationship to our bodies is not just that of mere property or something.
Well, or maybe I'm not sure actually. Now he's talking morally. Morally, that is true. We don't speak about our body as though it's just a thing, right? Oh, he took my phone is a lot different than, oh, he took my hand, right? These are different things. Morally, that's true.
But I don't think that shows numerical identity.
Okay. He's drawing a distinction between that. Okay, that's true. Sure, I think.
let me ask you this, Trent. How many people have been buried at Arlington National Cemetery?
Oh.
Ooh. Is the answer supposed to be 0? Ooh, that was a really good pump in that intuition. Or what?
So let me ask you this, Trent. How many people have been buried at Arlington National Cemetery?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably a lot.
0.
Yeah.
0.
Ah, the intuition pump there was so good. Oh, you just fucking...
Right, because those are all corpses. And
oh, you see that? He got him on the intuitive language thing, right? That was a good one. I don't know if I can work that in somewhere. That's a good one.
Oh, I have no idea. Probably a lot.
0, right? Because those are all corpses, and I'm not my corpse, according to you.
Correct. But although for me, yeah, and that might be an example of that when you asked me the question, I thought about it in shorthand.
Yeah, right. And
ooh, with that shorthand, there's an intuition that's pointing in a very strong direction there that I feel like you have to address or answer for, right?
So I think in the ontology room, strictly speaking, it's true that no one has ever been buried there. But of course, if you say that normally, people think, what kind of conspiracy theory, you know? Ordinarily, in ordinary English, it's good enough that your body.
Well, I don't know. I think that's a bit of a tricky question, because if I took somebody to Arlington Cemetery at night when nobody's there, and I asked them to look out, and I said, "How many people do you see? How many people are out there?" They'd say, "Well, there are no people out there; just they're dead bodies." Because when you say how many people were buried there, we're backtracking.
One, that's just an odd turn of phrase, I think. But 2, I think somebody knows that you're speaking a little bit metaphorically at that point. If you're sitting at a cemetery and you're like, how many people do you see out there? It's like, oh, I see thousands of faces of soldiers. Like, well, you know that you're like speaking metaphorically. When you say like, oh, how many people are buried into people? Well, there's no people. There's no persons. There's, yeah.
Looking back to when they were alive, then they're dead, then they were buried. What? No, what I mean is, I could just change the example a little bit.
Do it.
Because I do believe, because that, and now of course this is another, it's not controversial. I don't think so. But yeah, no, my view is also that as a Christian who believes in the afterlife, I currently hold to the view, yes, that a person is an organism, and so like when you die, your soul goes to heaven, your body is in the ground, and you don't exist until they rejoin back together again.
Yeah. So
the view is not. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. When you say how many people are out there, the person's probably thinking,
how does the soul inhabit the body? At what point? Is that ever a challenge for these guys? So these are edge cases, but if we're talking God can't fuck up. The 2 edge cases I would say is you have, I don't remember the term. Is it monozygotic twin? If there is some twins are formed because 2 spermies tie, okay, they both finish first place, and they fertilize 2 separate eggs somehow. Or is it 2 of them making it the same egg? That can't be it. They must fertilize 2 eggs. I don't know why 2 eggs were released at once. Somehow they do it. So there's either that, or you just have a zygote that splits too hard. He goes too hardcore, and then 2 different things develop. If God puts the soul right into the zygote, and then the zygote splits and you get 2 developing things, does God have to come down real quick and put in a second soul? Or did God put in like just so much soul in the first one that it couldn't be contained in one person and it split into 2? Or...
you mean walking around. If you say, how many people are in this grave? They'll say, I don't know, 1, right? So it does depend. But in many ordinary contexts, we speak as if something happening to my body means that it happens to me, even when you agree that that's not true. Like,
no, because if I said, is there a person in this grave? Most people are going to say no.
Is there a person in this grave? But if you said, is there a person in this grave? Person definitely feels more... in there? I think you'd say no, right? The intuition is you'd say no. Is someone buried in there? I feel like for someone buried in there, you'd say yes. Is someone buried in there? Is someone in there? I don't know. Yeah, we're getting into weird grammar verb things. I'm not sure.
Well, you agree that that's not true? Like,
no, because if I said, is there a person in this grave? Most people are going to say no.
I don't know if that... I feel like that cuts against him, though, no, right?
Well, they might think you're asking if it's like a fresh grave or something.
Sure.
Well, okay,
Right,
so
there's
what I'm
something
thinking,
buried alive.
Anyway, my point is, it's true in the ontology room that I've never been touched, say, on the view that I've defended, because my body's been touched, but not the thing in here.
Or or like
I
nobody has ever been raped, for example.
Well,
Jesus.
no,
depends on what it is.
Well,
They're raping my genitals.
if you say nobody's ever been touched, it seems like touch is an essential feature of the crime of rape.
I appreciate that this guy is drawing these distinctions between ontology and, or he's separating these into different ontological boxes. When I say I haven't been this, like nobody has truly actually done this to me as in my thinking mind, but rather I'm talking about my body collectively. We are in different buckets here a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but you can do it by touching somebody's body. So I say that in ordinary English, I've been touched because my body has been touched, and I've been touched, in a sense, by somebody touching my body. And I think that we have to say things like that because, again, we speak in that way, even in cases where I think you'll agree that.
Yeah, it's like saying nobody's ever gotten into a car accident. Like, well,
yeah, really, the car was what happened.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
See, the thing. Anyway, we've sort of covered the first three arguments. The third one is having to do with personal identity, and it says that I'm an organism. We know which premise, or we know that that's the one that doesn't reject. We just reached the 30-minute mark. I'm hoping within the last 5 to 10 minutes of camping out on trans opening, we can go to these last two arguments and see which premises Dustin would reject. So the fourth argument was the future like ours argument. Trent gave a deprivation account of the wrongness of killing. So it's basically the reason it's wrong to kill someone. Is because, or the reason it's wrong to kill something is because that thing has a future like ours, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, which sort of argument which premise would you reject in that, Dustin?
So I'm going to deny that early on there's someone who is deprived of a valuable future. Yeah, so I'm going to say, well, I was the person who had the individuals like us are the ones who have the futures like ours, and we don't exist yet very early in pregnancy. So it doesn't deprive someone of a future like ours, except in the sense that contraception or abstinence would. There's not an existing person who's deprived. It's just that there's a person who doesn't come into existence.
Okay, so I guess here's my question then. So would you say that the future like ours argument works for like an infant?
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess then I'm wondering, what is the thing that you're saying that it has a future like ours, but a fetus doesn't? Because it seems to me like a newborn infant, there is nothing really morally relevant that persists into the point when it takes immediate possession of that future like ours. Because I think you would say, like, let's say I don't think you would say an anencephalic child has a future like ours.
It wouldn't be like, I mean, there's a question about whether they are conscious or not. It's true that they don't have a future like ours. It might be that their existence has some sort of value. I don't know.
Right, but an anencephalic infant will die a few days after birth. It will not.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it does not have a future like ours.
Yeah.
Even though let's say an anencephalic infant, it could even have be alert. It could have some kind of a neural tube that is developed. It could have all of the parts that you associate with being like us. Like, let's say it is or it could be another disease we could pick, but I think this one case works, where if you ground it, as in an infant, that anencephalic infant actually does not have, if it's, that anencephalic infant could be like the healthy infant, you imagine, that has a neural cluster, has a mind that is thinking, aware of sentient things, heat, light, dark, cold, pain, pleasure. But it doesn't have, but even though it has those same things as the healthy infant, it doesn't have a future like ours because its entire development as an organism is blocked because of this disease that it has. So it seems to me like when I look at the healthy infant, what persists into the future when it becomes an immediate possession, it's not just that structure in the brain, because you got to add like trillions of more synaptic connections to get rational thought like us. And it's definitely not like psychological preferences, desires, or memories, at least not explicitly, it seems like. So I just feel like if you don't see a future like ours for the fetus, I don't see how you could really say one for the infant as well, but only in the abstract case that this is the kind of organism that will later have a future like ours.
I guess I'm a little confused. I mean, the reason the anencephalic infant doesn't, having a future like ours is a property about what's going to happen in the future. It's not a property about your current intrinsic. I mean, right. All babies will lose a future like ours if like a comet was going to hit tomorrow. Right. And so if we think, so it would still be wrong to kill them though, then it has to be that there's some other thing that makes killing wrong besides just having a future like ours.
True.
Right. No, and I agree. That's not, these are mutually supporting arguments. I think there's other reasons that are wrong to kill the anencephalic.
I mean, the reason that the infant, on my view, has a future like ours is because unless we kill them, they will grow up and have a life like ours, and the anencephalic infant won't, because
that is the same with the embryo. If we don't kill it, it will grow up and develop like us.
Oh, I don't think that it's one and the same individual though, because I don't think an individual like us exists early in pregnancy. So if you do it early enough, I say what happens is that it prevents a being that would have had a future like ours from coming into existence.
There you go.
Which,
True. Based.
Unless you think that abstinence or contraception are equivalent to murder, you'll say that's different from depriving a being that really does exist.
Based.
So that's
true. When people want to do this thing of potentiality, when you make a potentiality argument, then you are conceding that the thing itself has no value. But I think it's difficult to do a potentiality argument because you're arguing about a future thing that's going to come into existence, but then why start at the zygote itself? I don't think that anything necessarily makes the zygote more special than a sperm and an egg. And so if you if you use contraception, then you are effectively destroying a potential being the same way that if you destroy a zygote. So I don't think you can use this argument of like, well, the child will grow into something. Okay, well, if they will, when they get to a certain point, then we can talk about it. But until then, it's just it's not a person, right? True.
And Marquis himself says this in his original paper. There's actually this very brief point where he says, if there's a time early in pregnancy where the embryo is not yet a definite individual, then my argument won't apply. And what he means is there's not someone who's numerically identical with the later person.
Right, but he would trace that numerical identity to being the same organism.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, and you would trace that numerical identity to
having the same mind.
What do you mean by the term mind?
I mean, what I said earlier, for purposes of this, what I'm saying is Jeff McMahon's view. You may be familiar with it. I'm saying a mind is an object that is composed of the parts of my brain that are responsible for my mental life, begins to exist when it gains the functional unity needed to sustain that, ceases to exist when it loses that. So that's what the mind is. So the infant does have a basic mental life. Its brain has that, and that mind will develop and grow in certain ways, but it will be one and the same object.
Yes.
Well, is it really one and the same object though? It's like the ship of Theseus, or like my car. If I keep swapping out parts and adding new parts to it, and and I keep changing it. Especially not even, let's say it's my car, and I add to it and more to it, and it's like a Mad Max giant Thunderdome car. That seems to be more like what's happening with the infant's mind until it reaches the more advanced stage. I think it goes from like 56 trillion synaptic connections at birth to 1,000 trillion at 9 months. And
doesn't matter. It's still the same parts and pieces are there. It might be growing more into the future of like a more advanced brain, but it still has all the basic parts and the emergent experiences there, even if that experience becomes more sophisticated or complicated later on.
Do you think that my brain is a different brain than I had when I was born?
I think
it's all the same things.
Well, I think you're the same organism. I do.
Yeah,
well, is
do
it
you
the
think
same?
my brain
No,
is
I
the
don't.
same?
My brain is not the same as the brain I had when I was born.
So
I don't have the same
organ?
You mean it's literally, it's not just that it's qualitatively different, it's numerically a different brain?
You'd have to say no to that, right? Or I'm sorry. Yeah, you'd say no to it. It's the same brain, right? Things can develop over time. What we call a brain is probably referring to the collective things beneath it, but it's not referring to any individual particular thing. If you had a car and you slowly swapped out every single part, or if you had a ship and you slowly swapped out every single plank of wood over time, even once you've swapped out every single plank of wood, it would still be Theseus's ship. It would still be the ship of Theseus. Because every time you swapped out a new board, that new board becomes part of the underlying constituent elements that create the emergent thing of the ship of Theseus, right?
It's okay. When I guess once it reaches, I'm trying to think it back into fetal development, the development of the brain. Yeah, I guess I would say that it is the same. It is the same brain.
Yeah.
Okay,
but the parts that are morally. But I would say that for your view, like, okay, so this individual, like, you would say that a rat has a mind, it has a brain, but it does not have a future like ours.
Yeah, because it's a rat. I mean, unless it's going to go into a machine that turns rats into people or something, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. So even though it has a brain that allows it to have sentience, problem solving, and things like that, your objection to it having a future like ours is solely based in what will not happen to it in the future.
That's what a future like ours is. It's about what's going to happen in the future, provided we don't kill it. I mean, the rat is not going to have a future like, if it's a real rat under real circumstances, it's not going to have a future like ours, no matter what I do.
Yeah, and I guess your rejoinder is, well, that the infant is the same individual who would have those valuable future experiences. But what you mean by individual is a particular physical object in the brain.
Or a mind, yeah.
A mind, yeah.
Well, yes, but mind, that's a very nebulous thing, because you don't think we're immaterial. You think that a mind exists in a physical.
Well, I do think we're immaterial. I'm pretending I don't think it.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I just want to make one point. Like, one thing that Dustin could have gone when you brought up these kind of paradoxes of material constitution.
I actually think what that shows is that composite physical objects don't exist because there's no non-arbitrary way to specify their persistence conditions. And so I think that shows we have to be immaterial souls because there aren't any composite objects for us to be. But I'm not trying to get into that.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, one other thing that I wanted to say. So I'm sorry, at some point we have to cut it off and go on to the next one. So we're going to go on to the impairment argument for like 3 minutes, and then
King.
And we're going on to Dustin's opening.
Yeah, sure.
But I just wanted to say, one thing that was going through my mind was that those same problems about Dustin and the physical organ would equally apply to organisms, right? So like, let's suppose that just for me as an organism, every other 10 seconds, you like replace like 3 of my cells with like qualitatively similar, or I guess isomorphic biotic parts, or like machine-like parts. Is there going to be some precise point at which I die? Like you replace one cell and then I somehow die. Like again, you're going to get all those same paradoxes with organisms as such. You can remove one cell day by day, or things like that. So it seems to me that
but I think that organisms are a unique kind of thing because of their intrinsic capacity to develop and maintain.
King, what he said about there is no such thing as like a composite objects or whatever don't exist. A thing that's composed of other things is not actually a thing in and of itself. This is why when you get really technical on like the what is a woman or what is like even biological sex is not like none of these things, especially categories. But forget categories. Even objects are composites of so many underlying things, right? Like what is a tree? Well, a tree is not really a real thing per se, right? It's composed of a ton of different underlying parts that are also composed of a ton of different underlying parts, organs and cells and organelles and atoms. And so if you swap out the underlying things, that doesn't necessarily mean you've changed the entirety of the thing itself, because the composite object was never real to begin with. The composite object was some emergent thing or some mind-dependent structure that we've identified regardless. So just because you change up some of the underlying things doesn't necessarily mean the composite object itself changes, right?
Identity over time, that they have a better case of being an individual or a member of something, whereas composite objects like the ship of Theseus or my favorite car as a kid or whatever don't have that same kind of intrinsic unity, would be my reply to that.
Well, isn't an organism? Yeah, an organism would be a composite object.
I think it's different, that you can change, because I do think if you changed my car, the amount of changes that were done to it to mirror the amount of changes my body has undergone since I was a newborn, that let's say I was, I weighed 6 pounds or whatever, versus who I am today in my physical structure. If you did that similar thing to a composite object, you would be very hard pressed to say it is the same object. But you are not hard pressed to say I am the same being that was born 37 years ago or something like that. So I do think organisms, their ability to persist in identity is different because of the kind of substance they are.
While that's true, I don't know if that's like an intrinsic thing about an organism or it just happens to be that organisms grow. I feel like you could actually do, could you? I wonder if you could do like a software development version of this where like this is a video game that starts very early in development and it might grow from 1,000 to 100,000 lines of code, but it's still the same video game from start to finish. It just happens to grow a lot the same way that an organism does. Most other things won't grow like that because most of the material just doesn't have the ability to grow, right? But
a composite object is just an object that has parts that are not identical to it.
Sorry, I guess what I would mean to say is organisms as opposed to, like, I guess, artifacts. Like when we talk about, well, I guess composite objects, it's like, look, there's either things that are simples that aren't composed of parts, or things that are immaterial, like abstract objects, or composite objects. Is that, I mean, I guess, is that what you're, I know what you...
Somebody said it's too complicated to explain why, but most domain-specific philosophers don't think that complex objects don't exist. Most think complex objects do exist, just as an FYI. All 3 people in this debate would accept this and do, for example, what? So, okay, maybe they do, but I feel like the definition of those complex objects is going to be different than what a layman, I think, would assume, no? So, like, because technically, I guess if you say composite objects don't exist, you're almost arguing against the existence of everything ever, right? Because an atom wouldn't exist, a quark wouldn't exist, whatever you would have to get down to the infinitely irreducible object if there even is one. But maybe it's better to call them mind dependent. I don't know what you would call it, but it's yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess that immaterial things are probably simples too. They're just a different kind of simple.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question of whether they have parts or not, that's going to really take us far afield.
Okay, so let's just go into the 5th argument. We've got 3 minutes. I'm giving you guys 3 minutes for this one. It's the impairment argument.
And then when I tried to just make this simple, I find this an interesting thought experiment. So I guess I'm interested to see Dustin's take on it, which was most people would find it wrong to engineer an embryo to cause it to desire slavery and not have normal human desires that are merely for the benefit of others and what we probably would say to the detriment of the embryo. But if the embryo is not an individual, it's not a person like us, it's very difficult to say that would be wrong to do. But if you do hold to this, it's wrong to frustrate development in some way, like this in this case. I think it would also apply in the abortion cases as well.
So, am I supposed to imagine that when these individuals grow up and become our laborers, like, do they have minds? Are they conscious, or are they like philosophical? Okay, they are.
They're conscious.
Well, then I would say the reason not to do it is because later on they're going to have a complaint against you.
No. Their minds are changed. given gene therapy, whatever it might be, so that they take pleasure in being the slaves of others. Just like there are people who find sexual pleasure in sadism, masochism, things like that. I don't think it's that too far afield to make some of the desires, or at least doesn't have a desire for freedom, enjoys.
I would have to think about this more because it's just coming off the top of the dome. But I feel like whatever your idea of a human is, I feel like our preferences that most humans have are pretty baked into that idea of what a human is. So when you start tweaking these things, I think you very quickly get away from the core idea of what is human. I don't know what, I imagine some of these you could tweak and some of these you couldn't. So like if you could tweak it so that humans think that vegetables taste good, I imagine that probably wouldn't affect people. Maybe actually I shouldn't say preferences. Maybe I should say moral preferences. Because there are some preferences people, or if you like exercise, people wouldn't think that's a problem. But if you were to tweak it so that a person enjoys like watching people suffer, or tweak it so that somebody enjoys being abused, or tweak it so that like, I don't know, these types of things, I feel like people would view them as not okay. Maybe? I don't know. I'll have to think about it more.
The state of slavery, for example.
Yeah, so I am an objective list theorist about well-being. So I think that there are things that, you know, you should enjoy or you should desire, even though maybe desire, satisfaction, and pleasure matter to well-being. There are other things that matter apart from your attitudes towards them. And so I think that you're going to be harming these individuals by causing them to lose any interest in those things, even if they are content slaves.
So, and the difference, of course, is there's lots of, like if we made a robot that, you know, desire these kinds of things, it seems like humans are like the kind of thing that should have certain, the objective is there are certain desires you should have. It does seem like that's going to be dependent on the kind of being you are.
Yeah, well, I mean, assuming.
Do you think that people naturally felt like slavery is unethical at some level in ancient past? Like they had to go through some mental gymnastics to rationalize it to themselves? Or did they not even think about it? This is such like a whisper thin take just on the little I know, but it feels like people would have viewed slavery as not unethical. However, it's not like they would have viewed, it would be like asking, do you think people in the past thought that execution was unethical? Well, they're saying, well, no, of course not. There are just reasons why people are executed. Much the same that I think people wouldn't have said like, well, slavery is not unethical. They're just, you know, there are certain types of people that you take as slaves. For instance, you know, prisoners of war, or if you conquer some society and you enslave their population, they lost, you know, whatever. Like there might be, so it's not that they're saying it's ethical or unethical, just that like, well, it's a thing that happens. You wouldn't want to be enslaved, obviously. I don't think it was until, but there might have been more examples, I just don't know. Maybe in America, where did phrenology start? That people tried to give some kind of like descriptive justification to make it okay. But I feel like generally slavery was a thing that if you fucked up in life or something happened or you got captured, slavery was like the result or the consequence of that. I think it was the United States that first started to do chattel slavery, where you're like slave from birth, which was kind of fucked. I don't know if anybody else did that before then, but I could be wrong on that. I think generally it was like if you lost a war, you get like and maybe as a young boy, you're bought by somebody that does some weird shit to you or whatever. Like these are like the rules for how they do it. But the idea that like, oh, you're a certain skin color, now you're a slave for your entire life and you're part of the slavery class and you're born that way and you're going to die. Like, I think that was, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. Ancient Israel did chattel slavery? Oh, well, then I don't know. People said Romans had slaves from birth. Okay, then maybe not. I don't know too much about ancient forms of slavery then, so eject everything I just said.
If a robot is like Mr. Data from Star Trek, he seems like he's conscious and has a mind, then I might say the same thing. If it's just a normal robot, like in a factory or something, then I would say, well, that's not a being with moral status because nothing can really go well or poorly.
Well, you can compare it to animals. Animals have certain desires that, you know, if we frustrate their ability to have a desire to read Tolstoy, well, that doesn't really matter. But if you frustrate a human being's ability to do that, it seems like they're the kind of being who ought to have that. Like if you had an elixir that could give someone...
Somebody said Rome didn't have chattel slavery. I don't know.
If you frustrate...
Nothing can really go well or poorly.
Well, you can compare it to animals. Animals have certain desires that, you know, if we frustrate their ability to have a desire to read Tolstoy, well, that doesn't really matter. But if you frustrate a human being's ability to do that, it seems like they're the kind of being who ought to have that. Like if you had an elixir that could give someone the ability to read, it seems like, and you have the choice between a 10-year-old child and a cat. It seems like the child is the kind of being they've been frustrated in a certain desire that ought to be remedied, whereas the cat isn't. And so they'd have more of a moral claim there.
Wait. Canute time. Hold on. Hidden camera.
Yes, we signed the last like financing here, but it was.
Did you guys go over the Carfax? They didn't show anything on the Carfax?
No, nothing.
What?
But this one was bought from an auction by this dealership, most likely, and fixed, and still said no. It was, or the one before, I'm not sure, but it was non-disclosed damage.
I think this truck was a trade.
We'll see. But it was at least found it online. You can see here.
Yeah.
If you want to see the pictures, this is the truck. And its insurance has written what it was, all of it as well. They pulled the insurance facts from it. It was.
That is wild.
You can see.
That's wild, man.
Front and back.
And the VIN matches.
Yes, it's the same VIN.
Oh, wow.
It is this car.
Wow.
Yeah. Come on in. You can take a seat here. My desk can
That's crazy, chat. Wow.
Let me go in and get a manager. You want anything to drink?
No, thank you.
Good.
Here are the damages that they didn't tell him about. Damn, Daniel! Oh no! Is this really his truck?
I had to ask if the wind was matching.
Oh no.
Can you hear me now? Is this good enough if I have it down there, the mic?
Oh
Or
no.
if I just hold it in my hand?
Not good.
Thank you.
Rome, ancient Greece, and the Middle East practiced chattel slavery. The definition of chattel slavery is that the slave is the master property. Oh, never mind. Wait, what is it called when it's when you're a slave from birth? Like racially based.
Hold it in my hand, that is easier.
Is there a different name for that?
The mic is really small. I'm sitting here all alone now, chat, just yapping by myself. Destroy their toilet. We're not destroying toilets right now. Don't flow.
Why are people? I don't understand why you guys. I don't know if this is a thing that I have the appearance of doing. I try not to do it or whatever, but like, Destiny, to be fair, if it's just bumper and other small shit, it could have been totaled by cost of repair based off paint and stupid sensors as the bumper, and the truck is still okay. If you got a really good price, I would drive that shit minus the truck. No, excuse me. You can't.
Hey there, everyone. Sports
Can he
fans.
sue the dealership for this? That'd be my guess. I don't know what the cause of action would be. I'm sure there's some kind of, there's probably something for if you lie. I bet there's probably even special laws for cars. If you lie like on some form for buying or selling a thing, it's like misrepresentation. But yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of thing you could sue for sure.
Imaginable. King of meat.
Does that do what I think it does? I'm obsessulated.
I forgot about that. It did look like my Is the GA the 550 you got? Yeah. Yeah, cleaning 550? That's it. I just got to the truck and I pulled the door and it unlocked. So it's pretty cool. Sure, you can put it like in your wallet. Yeah.
Hey, I saw you got the Lazos the black one?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I hate
Wait. I sold him that one, or did you guys sell him that?
You sold him that black.
Oh yeah.
But again, the family reached out to you before she brought it back into you, and they're like, hey, she wants to trade in and stay. We couldn't even do that. They make things so well. And I don't have conversations with her. I got it. She's the one person in the family out of all the other siblings that have the least irritation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes. So. Yeah. So you can see they pulled also one of my friends pulled the.
You should have just in time. I just got done with my customer too.
Look,
Sneeko?
That as well.
Is he a car salesman now? Did you hear him?
Insurance related total loss. I don't understand how this isn't. So on Carfax and on the other resource, AutoCheck, everything shows check, clean. And it's so crazy. This is the first time I've ever had this. Bumper girl who postulated or frame involvement, secondary damage, tailgate bumper, minor structural damage, severity. Severe enough for insurance auction. Suggested repair costs exceeded a percentage of value, 7 to 8% in Texas. No airbags deployed or flood. Does this have VIN number details on it?
It has on the. You see here on this one. It has at least here search by VIN, so there you have the whole VIN number. There's pictures.
This one I got. This one you sent me the link, so I was looking actually at this.
The other one was pulled off the auction.
Okay. Off the
so
auction.
you will find it on the VIN number there as well. He just copied the text and sent it to me.
Hold on a second.
I briefly just chatted with my manager down there. They were dumbfounded too. They're like, we've never seen anything like this. And it's quite interesting because we don't really auction cars. We've never had this. I've sold many cars before. So the question is, dude, I'm going to take care of you no matter what. What do you want to do as far as the truck?
I suggested a refund.
Or a trade out of it?
A trade is possible. Could also be that is also a possibility or something that isn't.
Yeah. So obviously.
But I can't have this truck when it's that much damages. That's
fair.
That is at least what I think. With what we do after, we can always discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just been the most interesting thing, but we're gonna take care of it.
No, I believe you.
I don't know the proper steps to actually do that.
So there was a viewer that checked the VIN number from your page and found this.
Well, thank him.
Yeah, I said thank you. That was me being dumb for not checking.
I just never. Like this is something that we just never really.
Why did you time me out in YouTube chat? I didn't. I have no idea who you are, and I don't know why you got timed out. But you probably needed to be timed out though. Good luck. Jesus.
So we're gonna figure this out.
So this was at 15,000 miles. It was there.
Wait, did they change the mileage on this as well?
That the accident was prior to May 2024, so it must have been really new.
Yeah, that's what it's so shocking. 2024 truck, and it drove so easy, smooth and easy. I'm just so confused.
Oh, it was more. There's a lot of. There was a lot more text. This is pulled from the auction site. I can show you the whole text, and I can find the link for this as well. I can tell him to send me.
I mean, we're gonna do everything we can anyway. So that's bananas. That's
I don't like that language. We're gonna do everything we can. Ooh. Chances are, I imagine he's fine. I imagine he's fine. And I don't know how clever the car salesman people are, unless they run these scams a lot. I would be a little bit worried. They agreed to a refund, 100%. Like a manager agreed, or they said we can probably get you your money back and didn't actually agree to shit. Because the thing I'd be scared about is if they're asking a lot of questions, is saying something, and then they get you on a thing. Like, oh, like, how did you know something happened to the car or whatever? And then you say some shit like, oh, well, you know, I took it into the shop and I had it. Oh, what happened? It's like, oh, you know, I scraped the bumper. It's like, oh. And then like, well, we can't really verify whatever bullshit, or we don't know what additional damage is caused, so we can do a trade-in, but we're gonna have to take off. Like, I'd be worried about some shit like that. But I don't know how like sneaky these guys are at car dealerships like this.
They probably really,
especially if it's like a large car dealership instead of if it was like a buy here, pay here place, that'd be super sketchy.
Deducted 20 to 30% if rebuilt title, it says. Potential issue, the auction record confirms severe collision damage, which could affect structure integrity, alignment, or resale value even after repairs.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, cool. Let's figure this out. I'm here to do it.
Classic. Get deducted. BJam sending me a IAAI website.
Okay, tell me if anything interesting happens. I want to try to get this Thunderbolt dock to work while I listen to this. And if it doesn't, whoever recommended me this is getting banned.
Okay, so Dustin.
Sorry, I don't want to.
No, it's fine. Dustin, I will give you the last word on that little point. Okay, so I'll give you the last word on that to respond to what he just said, and then we are moving on to Dustin's opening statement, and hopefully we'll be able to spend about 30 minutes on that, and then we'll just wrap up quickly after.
Okay. Two things. I mean, first of all, there are a lot of instrumental reasons to give it to the human. I mean, if you were like the one cat who was a person, and you know you don't have a family, and you're in human society, you'd probably not be as well off. But it might also be. I mean, if my move of saying, well, maybe our minds are the rational kinds of minds, if that works, then I think that might be a way of accounting for why it's proper for us, even though we're just minds, to be rational in a way that's not necessarily for other types of minds.
So just a quick clarification. That's similar to your symmetric move earlier. You're just saying instead of saying we're the kind of organisms, we're the kind of minds, the kind of rational minds. Okay, that was just clarification. We are moving now on to Dustin's opening. And
what's so funny about that?
Just turn it over to Trent to kind of, I guess, ask where he wants to go with this. So yeah.
Well, I took notes, so maybe.
2 monitors through Thunderbolt to the dock, 2 through HDMI, aka make sure they're displayed. I don't want to use the HDMI thing. Here's what my worry is. I see 3 Thunderbolt things down here. Why? Where am I supposed to plug in? I want to use my Thunderbolt cable from my PC to this dock. It better work. It better be possible. Or your ass is grass, ASOS. No amount of lifting is going to get you out of that permaban.
I might be able to get through it somewhat sequentially from your opening statement, similar to what we did with mine. You were talking about something called the equivalence thesis, that it doesn't really, my view seems problematic because I do consider abortion to be morally equivalent to infanticide, but many people don't have that view, that it's equally wrong to kill an embryo, human fetus, human infant, human toddler, human teenager, human adult, human geriatric. I do think those are all equally wrong because it is wrong to directly kill human beings. But I don't think that the fact that we recognize some killing causes more harm than other killings takes away from the equal wrongness of the act. So let me give you an example. Suppose someone made a gas that took away the ability to learn more than 3 languages. I would say giving that to it's always wrong to give that to a human being. I would say, you should never give that to a human being. I can't think of a reason why you would ever do that. But it seems like it would harm most people. It probably wouldn't even harm them. Most people only know 1 language. But it might really harm a polyglot. Someone who makes a living impressing people, or a translator or something like that. So here I think we have an example of something that is a wrong that's equally wrong, even though we see the wrong in some cases causes a lot of harm, and in other cases we barely see the harm, even though the action was wrong.
I don't think it is equally wrong. I think it's more wrong to give it to the polyglot because it hurts them a lot more.
Well, let me tell you.
It might be wrong in both cases, but it's more wrong.
Okay, well then I have 2 replies to that. An act could be, suppose I allow for the gradation of wrongness in acts. It could be the case that some acts are more wrong than others, but all of them are gravely wrong and you ought not do them. So even under, like, I still think it's equally wrong to kill a father of 10 or to kill a hermit that's kind of disconnected from society. And you may not. I think that they're equally wrong, though I think more harm is caused when you kill a father of 10. But even, let's say, you might say, well, it's more wrong to kill a father of 10 because there's social obligations, It's even if it's less wrong to kill the hermit, it is still very, very wrong, and it's gravely wrong, and it's something one ought not do. So you see what
I think when you're talking moral philosophy, sometimes I do this. I try to catch myself if I'm having a debate. You need to be very, 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 very careful with your words. So it sounds like what he just wants to say is some things are wrong and some things are not wrong, right? We'll have a moral category for vice or bad or evil, whatever the fuck. And then we have another category for, I guess, good or neutral at least, right? And then that's it. I wouldn't call things like gravely wrong or more wrong. Just you have wrong and not wrong. That's it. Some things might... there are some wrong things that cause more harm than other wrong things, but it's either wrong or not wrong. Because every time he tries to make this argument, but then he throws in an adjective like, well, this might be gravely wrong, but this other thing is still wrong. Just fuck all the adjectives, they don't matter, right? You can talk about harm as a different thing, but it sounds like wrongness to you is just a binary, I think.
more harm is caused.
Key Canute alert. Avoiding putting the refund in writing. Uh-oh. I wonder if there's additional legal or criminal culpability, like in terms of fraud. Oh, see, this is another thing where if Canute had like a lawyer or somebody to help him, Canute might be able to get an even better deal, because technically Canute could, this would be considered extortion or blackmail, so I'm not suggesting you do this, but Canute could go, isn't this a crime? And they're like, you know, what if we do trade-in plus 10K? You know, because they might want to really help you because they don't want, but if they put it like a refund in writing over something like this, then they might be basically admitting on paper to criminal liability.
But I am interested in newer cars, so that is, it's not like I'm writing that off, just so that is said. Thank you. That's all. Just for my own sake.
I'll give the target for the refund on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we watch some Brain Rot? This is Brain Rot.
When you kill a father of 10. But even, let's say, you might say, well, it's more wrong to kill a father of 10 because there's social obligations, It's, even if it's less wrong to kill the hermit, it is still very, very wrong, and it's gravely wrong, and it's something one ought not do. So you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I agree with the formal point.
Mm. Yeah, and so I think that when we apply that to abortion, to things like that, we are going to get back to a basic principle, which is that just is it, no matter who the human being is, it is always wrong to directly kill them, at least always seriously wrong to do that. It seems like you might disagree with that or disagree what counts with being an individual or a mind. But I just wanted to address that point about the equivalence thesis. I don't think that's problematic from my view.
Well, I think that the implications that I pointed out that seem counterintuitive.
Somebody said rolling back the mileage or fucking the Carfax will land you in jail. Rolling back the mileage, isn't that like a federally illegal thing? I thought that was like a mega illegal thing. Did they? But we don't know if they rolled back the mileage. They could have bought it compromised as well. Maybe, who knows?
I think are going to hold up, even if you think it's like pretty close in wrongness or comparable in wrongness or something. Mm-hmm. So I think that my arguments would still work, even if you want to say something like that.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I want to go down that road more or pursue. I guess the other thing I wanted to bring up is, I guess you were talking a lot about an argument. So I guess your first case is metaphysical and then ethical. Yeah, so maybe we'll talk about the metaphysical and then we'll talk about the ethical. We already talked about, I was talking about the metaphysical here a little bit. That basically who I am is related, is related to this particular part in my brain. And you brought up the case of the cerebrum that is transplanted. Okay. And most people would say, like, if you took my cerebrum out of my body and put it into a corpse or a robot, we would say I survived, which must mean that I am my cerebrum.
Yep.
Then
based. You got it, King.
Well, at least you're the mind inside the cerebrum, I guess.
Yep. Sure.
That's the thought. Or at least the mind transfers and the organism doesn't. And so I think the organism, and the plausible candidate is the mind.
I am a mind that is, for the view you're defending, which isn't your view, but whatever.
Is localized in whatever part of the brain we've transplanted.
And under this view you are defending, the mind can't exist without this part of the brain.
Yeah, if you destroyed that part, then you would destroy the mind.
True.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I guess, but it also seems to be based on psychological continuity, because I think that your view, because there's a few different ways to respond to the brain transplant scenarios. So one classic view, which you've tried to preempt, but I think we should explore it more, is the idea of reducibility. So it's kind of like you cut off the branches of a tree, the tree still exists even if you get down to the trunk. But if you destroy the trunk and the tree doesn't exist anymore, you just have roots that are going to die. You know, so that could be the view that I am an organism, but my parts can be systematically replaced, and I still exist. And so, similar to cutting the branches of a tree, I have a robot arm, robot legs, and go all the way back up to my brain. I guess your concern is, all right, but what if we can push, so I can get it back to the brain? That is just the irreducible organ. And you're saying, but what if we could just get that all the way back to the cerebrum? That doesn't seem to be, well, as an organelle, it's a part of an organ, I guess. But I mean, you could just say it's kind of your...
Okay. I plugged in the thing to the back of the thing, and I have 2 monitors now. This works perfectly. Now I ordered 2 more monitors that'll get here tomorrow, like another one of these combo things. I didn't install the drivers to this fucking thing. Do I need the drivers? Do they matter? Or can I just say fuck the drivers?
I still don't see what's wrong with the idea that is just, this is the furthest I could be reduced. A few things that pop in my mind. I worry if this is metaphysically possible, but let's grant that it is. I don't know if that is the case, that just reducing to the cerebrum constitutes survival if you have that psychological connection.
You need drivers. The other 2 monitors need to be HDMI into the dock. No, why? It has 3 other outputs. Why does it have to be? I have one USB. I have one Thunderbolt cable that's powering both these monitors. Why do I have to use HDMI? Why would I have to? Don't make me do another cable. Don't make me do that. Don't make me do that.
Because then you have the parfit problem. What if you split the cerebrum in 2, or do the split brain into 2 separate bodies, and then both claim to be me?
That's a hard one.
I can't be numerically identical to both of those individuals. So that, if I pose that as an answer, then maybe it is just not the case that maybe if my cerebrum is removed from my body, the I as an organism, I do die, and maybe a new organism comes into existence with my memories. Similar in the parfit case, what could solve the numerical identity problem is just that when you split my brain in 2, the original organism dies, 2 new organisms come into existence somehow, and they just have identical memories to me, but they're not both me.
Wait, so in the case where it just gets transplanted and there's no split, what is your diagnosis of that case?
If it's just the cerebrum?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's possible that I don't that I do not survive, because if I don't survive in the parfit case, I don't know. I don't know, because I am an organism. I am a being. If somebody else, just because somebody else has memories and thinks that they're me, I mean, somebody who knew my life really well and canvassed it, they could maybe hypnotize somebody to think that they have that same thing, but they would not be me. So I have a one diagnosis that it's not me, or that somehow that I can still be irreducible down to that. If I can be, if you can cut me down to one irreducible organ, the brain, maybe I can be cut down to the cerebrum, and that is just I still exist as an organism, even though.
Because you need to use display link, which is for HDMI, because your GPU doesn't support 4 monitors. Why can't it use? I'll see. The other 2 monitors are going to get here tomorrow, and it's just going to work. And you're going to be fucking wrong. How mad are you going to be when you're so fucking wrong?
I'm detached or incomplete at some point.
Yeah. So I guess I already gave my arguments against the idea that the organism might be reduced to just the cerebrum. In response to the just bullet biting thought that maybe you just say, no, I don't go with the cerebrum. I do agree that psychological continuity is not sufficient for numerical identity. Because, there could be a clone of me that was psychologically continuous, or, you have these fission cases, or, like I said, I think I could lose a high degree of psychological continuity if I suffered serious brain damage or became demented, but I think numerical identity would persist. So I agree it doesn't go along just with psychological continuity. But when you have psychological continuity and continuity of the parts of the brain that produce consciousness, then it really does seem to me like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go with the cerebrum. And that's how it seems to,
but in the
I think almost everybody who considers this.
Ooh.
Yeah, but in the Parfit case, I'm sorry for those, I don't want to, well, the people who watch your channel, Joe, probably are familiar with these things because they like philosophy and all that. The fission case, there are parts of the brain. It seems like you're saying the mind is located in a particular physical structure in the brain, but it seems like your view could allow that you could split that structure. I don't see why it couldn't.
Yeah. So I think this is a reason why we should be substance dualists.
There you go.
Problems with this. But granting that we're not, if we're going to split it, I think I can say the same things you say about, say, a zygote twinning. What do we want to say about the zygote twinning? Is it one of them? Is it the other one? Is it?
Oh my God, that's my thing. What's he say to that?
Zygote cease to exist. Maybe I can say.
No, make him answer that. I'm so curious. What's the answer?
If you say, well, there are two equally good continuers, so that shows that the zygote has ceased to exist. Maybe I can say, okay, there are two equally good continuers in the fission case, and that shows that I have ceased to exist because my mind has ceased to exist and been replaced by two others. Now, Parfit thinks fissioning like that would be just as good because psychological continuity is what really matters. But I haven't said that.
Well, I think let me bring up. Sorry, I want to make sure that we covered all that well. I mean, I guess I had another thought when you're talking about. I guess
why are you anti-HDMI cable? It's the same amount of cable, just about Thunderbolt with HDMI. Well, because it's an extra cable that's cringe, and HDMI comes up the back of the laptop instead of the side, which is cringe. It's mega cringe, bro. And HDMI is just cringe as opposed to USB, which is base and Chad.
You said like, well, this cerebrum has left me. Is there two of me? Is that just me? Well, I don't know. Like if you took my head off my body and you had some machine that kept it alive, that would just be a case where my body is just more extended in space. Like I got part of my body.
Oh, really? No.
Here, there's a part of my body over there.
But if you destroyed that body, you wouldn't even have awareness that it was destroyed.
And so I guess that would.
Don't plug the HDMI into the laptop. It goes into the dock. All the monitors go into the dock, and then one cord of the laptop. Oh, we'll see. Whatever. They'll come tomorrow. We'll see.
That's because I guess it's not too far. I don't know. They talk about head transplant cases in the literature. I don't know if we're anywhere near that yet. But like if we did take off somebody's head and there was a machine that ran the blood through it and kept it alive, and there's the trunk over there, we don't say there's two persons. We wouldn't say we would say that their body is now more extended in space, basically.
No.
And so I think like a similar move happens with the cerebrum. My body is now, I exist as an organism. It's extended. But I guess I would also wonder what happens to my original body if it ends up dying. Then maybe that's when I cease to exist.
Funnily enough, this is so not the way we think about it. There's like a joke written about this where a genie pops out and the genie sees three men, and the genie asks the men, I'll give you as much money in dollars as the furthest distance you think you have between two parts of your body or whatever. And the one guy says, from my fingertips apart. And the genie says, okay, you get, whatever 6 feet times whatever inches, you get that many dollars. And then the other guy says he has long hair and he pulls out his hands from the top of my strand of hair to my tips of my toe or whatever. And the genie gives him money. And then the other guy says, from my balls to my dick. And the genie gives him, like $100 million. And the guy's like, oh my God, you have the longest dick in the world. And then the guy's like, I was in Vietnam and my dick got blown off. So his dick is all the way in Vietnam, and that's the joke. But like people intuitively don't think of your body as being extended once parts have been removed from you,
Then maybe that's when I cease to exist. And
so I'm assuming it doesn't. I mean, it seems to me for something to count as a part of an organism, it has to be like bound up with the organism's homeostatic
somehow,
whatever,
attached in some way with some sensory.
And that stops once you remove the cerebrum.
Well, and when you remove, or if you remove the head. But it's still a part of my body. You put it on a machine that kept it alive.
I think in that case,
No.
You and your body are no longer part of the same thing. You and the trunk are no longer part of the same thing. So if you take my cerebrum out, suppose we put it in a robot, and we keep my old body alive. I don't think it's the case that now I'm like mostly over here and then I'm partly in the robot. I think I've gone with the robot, and I don't think there's any way to say that the cerebrum, maybe it's a year later and my body is still alive. I don't think there's any way to say that the cerebrum is part of the same organism as the comatose body because it's not bound up with the bodily unity of the comatose body and hasn't been for a year.
Yeah, and I think what I would say is if an action destroys the organism, then that organism, that person, no longer exists. So like even in the embryonic twinning case, we just had the first organism has died and 2 new organisms come into existence.
Really?
In the case where if I die and my cerebrum is placed somewhere else.
Oh, wait, whoa. You're hardcore going to get challenged. You should, right? If you're saying that in the twinning instance for a zygote, when a zygote splits, the original thing is dead, and now 2 new beings have come into creation. Well, in an ordinary zygote where the, not the atoms, where the cells split and it continues to grow, how is the original thing not dead and then a new thing created every single time mitosis occurs or whatever? I don't think you can get away with that. That doesn't make any sense. Push him on that.
And then this trunk is left and it dies. I would just say that I've died, and now we have, and it depends what the cerebrum is in. You know, if you put it, we're starting into metaphysical impossibility, or I'm very skeptical if it's in a robot. But if it's put inside of a human corpse, or I guess another living human being, you know.
Do you think, suppose while we're transplanting it, we stimulate.
Oh my God. I think I just thought of the edgiest hypothetical in the fucking universe. Imagine you have a 5-year-old and a 25-year-old, and then you swap their brains. Which one would be the ethical one to bang? The 5-year-old in the mind in the 25-year-old body, or the 25-year-old mind in the 5-year-old body?
Stimulate the cerebrum so that it produces all the electrical activity associated with consciousness. Do you think it would produce consciousness in that case?
I don't know. This is treading in unfamiliar territory, and I don't know if it could. I think this could be a very reductivist view as to what makes us conscious beings. It's just kind of funny because you call yourself a substance dualist. I just feel like returning back into Descartes, it's like it's the pineal gland right here. That's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, substance dualists are right in thinking that I'm the mind. And then the question is just what is the mind, I think.
Yeah, or like where, you know, where is this kind of stuff, where is it happening? Because I think that what might end up happening in that case, I think, yeah, I'm very hesitant to commit to views of personal identity who a lot of these arguments against it are based on these very hypothetical cases. Because it just may turn out that based on the nature of human beings, if you took out my cerebrum, I as a human organism still exist. My rational faculties have been destroyed, so I'm a disabled human being. And that cerebrum will never produce psychological abilities like mine. I think that's quite plausible. And obviously it's just a thought experiment. There's no evidence shown to the contrary. And that just might be the nature of human beings.
Yeah, so I think really you're sort of biting the bullets that I want you to bite. You're saying things that I think are counterintuitive, and we may have just reached
an impasse.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think though Sorry,
I sometimes say things like that when I'm on mute. I'm an incompetent host, but
wait,
I was going to say this could be sometimes say.
Well, yeah, and I think though Sorry,
I sometimes say things like that when I'm on mute. I'm an incompetent host.
Wait, did he think he said something that wasn't heard, or?
But I was going to say this could be a place where we go onto the ethical side, the ethical arguments.
Sure. I just want to bring up, you brought up the point about like dicephalous twins. Yeah. The only example one example I'm aware of, it's like, well, do we have 2 persons in one body? The case that I'm aware of, I think that we do end up having 2 organisms here.
What?
Even if like let's say
2 organisms and a 2-headed whatever that is. That's 2 separate organisms, or 2 organisms, or?
You did destroy my trunk and you kept my head, like, you know, Richard Nixon on Futurama or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think that's an organism. It doesn't meet the scientific definition of an organism any more than a severed arm or whatever.
No, I think if it's being kept alive, it's similar to how you might have.
I think that was a good point. Like, so he's saying here that if you cut somebody's arm off and you put it somewhere else, that's still just your body. It's just extended through time and space. But if there are 2 heads in one body with 2 separate minds, that's actually 2 organisms, even though it's one contiguous. That's super counterintuitive. I don't think so.
Individuals that are kept alive on heart-lung machines. Here, it's just you don't have the trunk.
What? Meet the scientific definition of an organism any more than a severed arm or whatever.
No, I think if it's being kept alive, it's similar to how you might have individuals that are kept alive on heart-lung machines.
How do you decide which mind owns the body, though?
Here, it's just you don't have the trunk anymore, but it's still all the machine is doing is sending blood into the brain and it's regulating that. But the case I'm familiar with, people to look up, would be Abigail and Brittany Hensel. So Abigail and Brittany Hensel.
Oh, he could also push here on. Wait. So if somebody has two different heads, then you would say they're two different organisms. What if somebody had 3 different arms? Is that 2 different organisms? Or what if they had 5 hearts? Is that 5 organisms? Or is it only the presence of an additional head that makes you a different organism? Seems like something is special there with the brain, I think, right?
Or 2 dicephalous twins.
No, that's not a dicephalous.
Sorry.
They're joined at the trunk.
Right. Sorry. Well, I guess part of their, I guess both their heads are free. It seems like they share, they have 2 heads and it appears like they share one body and are symmetrical, but they don't. But they are, well, no, they have, it appears to be one trunk, but they have a bunch of other organs inside.
I mean, here, and then some organs are duplicated and some aren't.
Right, but they have to work together. So one of them controls the left side, the other controls the right side. So like the example you gave, you had the 2-headed alien.
Sorry, yes, okay, sorry. That is a dicephalous case. It's not a craniophagus parasiticus.
It's not craniopagus, yes, but it is dicephalous.
Of course, absolutely.
And so they do have to, like when they drive a car, one twin does the left stuff and the other twin does the right stuff. And so they do that. So they do have to cooperate and work together. But I would say here that we do have a case. We do have a case of 2 organisms that are fascinatingly interwoven with each other and highly dependent on the organs of one another. But they're still 2 people. But it's not the case of one organism and 2 minds or something like that.
Yeah. So what do you think about? I mean, that's not a.
Destiny finds his excuse. What are these guys even fighting over? You're smoking crack. Your word's not mine. This is about Israel. It'll also be the last time I dignify you with response. Have fun with your pedophile, pro-genocide coalition you're trying to build. Hassan ends his dignified response after finding a Destiny reference on Maya Luna's profile from January. Piker and Luna have been going back and forth over his finger pointing about immigration while refusing to endorse Kamala Harris. Okay, based.
Craniopagus parasiticus case, but maybe you'll say the same thing. This attached head is a separate organism. That doesn't seem right to me for reasons I've said. But
so it's only a head. It's not connected to the trunk. It's only connected to the brain.
Yeah, Jeff McMahon talks about this. It's not clear whether the second head has ever actually been conscious or had.
Well, that's where I would want to investigate.
But it's metaphysically possible that it could be. Sure.
Just like the pea zombies, or are they?
Well, I think they're metaphysically possible. But.
Yeah, that's where my intuitions are much more cloudy because I'm not familiar with a case of that with 2 conscious. I mean, I'm familiar with cases where you have, a conjoined twin, a part of you that had died, and so you had maybe someone could be born and you've got the other twin's head connected to you, but they died a long time ago and that organ was connected to you in development and has to be amputated later.
Damn. Wait. Hold on one second.
But I'm not familiar with them both being conscious.
Yeah. What did you think about the case I gave of the Star Wars Episode 1 pod race announcer, where there it really does seem to me like there's just one organism, but there are two minds, and then it seems like there are 2 people.
I would just say it's too foreign and fantastic a case for me to make a judgment.
Surely that's like possible. I feel like we could go out to another galaxy and we could see one of those. And like, surely we also don't want our metaphysics of personhood to be beholden to such empirical facts. Like, if we go out there, we could just discover that animalism is false. Like, that seems.
Okay, so the question is, so my view is that all human organisms are persons. So then there's other questions that are raised here. Not all organisms are persons, obviously. So that's something we all agree on. I think all human organisms are persons, and there could be non-human organisms that are persons. I also hold the view that human organisms are each one person. They're not more than one person. So then moving forward, we'd have to ask the question: could it be the case? So could it be the case there are intelligent non-human organisms? Yes, that doesn't seem to be problematic there. Could there be intelligent non-human organisms that are zero persons? I don't think so if they're part of a rational kind. Could there be intelligent non-human organisms that are more than one person? That seems to be the question that you raised with the two-headed guy, the announcer from the Phantom Menace. Could an organism be more than
Spoiler alert, if you are a millennial, unironically, okay? I know that you think people sometimes say this on the internet as a troll, but people who grew up as is Zoomers the one right underneath millennial? Actually, unironically, Mr. Moon in chat, okay? Unironically think that the prequels, the 3 prequel Star Wars movies, are good movies. That all 3 of those movies are good movies with a couple flaws, but are generally just, they're pretty good movies. Unironically, Zoomers think that. Unironically.
One person. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't think it necessarily goes against my view that we are organisms. I don't know if it creates
it wouldn't show that we're not organisms, but it might show that kind of the most parsimonious thing is that we're minds. If we think those guys would have to be their minds, maybe, or
they are organisms too. It's just a case that in some cases an organism can be more than one person.
Well, presumably the persons are not identical to each other, so they can't both be the same organism by transitivity.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, so then the case is, well, can an organism be? If it's identical to if each person is identical to an organism by transitivity, then each of the persons are identical to one another. I'll have to think about that to reflect more if that does create some kind of a logical contradiction there. And then if it does create that, then I guess then we can move down your route that they're minds. Well, I guess okay. So in your view, can a mind is one person?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There couldn't be a case where a mind is 2 people.
Right.
Could an organism have more than one mind? I guess, yeah, the two-headed.
An organism can have more than one mind, but I say what that shows is there are 2 different people there. So because the number of organisms differs from the number of people, the people in the organisms can't be the same thing. And because the number of people equals the number of minds, it seems like.
But then if you say what a mind is, then a mind just is not a collection of thoughts. A mind is a particular structure that generates these thoughts.
A thinking object, yeah.
Right. So then it's like, think about split personality syndrome. Like, it's almost like, do we have the same problem here? Where it's like, let's say you have 2 minds, 2 personalities that share this same physiological structure in the brain. Does that mean those 2 minds are the same because they're both identical to this same little neural nub in the brain?
Okay, Dustin, so you're going to give your response to this, but then we're moving on to the ethical side.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's neither of your guys' faults. Go on, and we'll spend 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll close it out.
You guys are wasting time.
Yeah. I would say there's one mind in that case. I mean, assuming that I'm understanding the neurology correctly, I would say. Wait, sorry, is this a split brain or a multiple personality?
Multiple dissociative, multiple personality.
Okay. I would say there's one mind, and there are sort of different psychological frameworks, different sets of contents and dispositions that become available to it at different times. So somehow those are all encoded in there, but they only become consciously available at only one set of them becomes consciously available at a time. So there are people who would disagree with that, but I would say, yeah, there's just one person and they have multiple personalities.
Right, ethical. This is the final thing. So yeah.
All right, wow, we made it through a lot here. Well, I think Ewok. I love the acronym, by the way. Oh, by the way, I meant to say this at the beginning of our conversation, but now it's coming so much later. I am very grateful that you read my work before this, by the way. You would be. I once went to a debate actually on the existence. I did a debate on the existence of God, and I talked to the guy afterwards that I debated, and I had his book, and I asked him to sign it, and he said, why do you want that? I'm like, because it would be neat for you to sign your book. I have it. I read it before this debate. It would be prudent to do.
Wow.
I assume you did the same for me. He's like, well, why would I do that? And that debate didn't go very well for him. And I'm always amazed. I'll engage people and they're like not familiar with my work at all. So to see you quoting me, I was like fanboying. I'm like, wow, he read my stuff. That's so fun. But in any case, and I also looked at your.
I keep seeing claims that the famous conjoined twins Abby plus Britt had to pay separate college tuitions. Assuming that were true, justified or no. If I had to guess, these girls probably paid literally nothing. They probably got everything covered because their life was so exceptional. I've seen your quote-unquote claims, but I feel like they only show up in like meme images on Reddit. But you can link the story otherwise. I think you can make an interesting argument one way or another. But
your stuff, as well before engaging in this. So Ewok, the equal wrongness thing, I think I already kind of addressed that a little bit with the example I gave about the Hermit and Father of 10. You brought up, let me go to the points that we haven't discussed. So one was legal punishment and the other was violence. I support, now I do think there are some moral things that don't necessarily have a legal balance behind them. Like the law doesn't necessarily have to compel people to make certain kinds of sacrifices. So most pro-lifers, like on the ethics of abortion, most people agree that you should treat the unborn like the born. Don't kill them just because they're unwanted among pro-lifers. But pro-lifers disagree about what do you do if somebody else threatens your life? Is it okay to kill them or not kill them? People have different views on that. So pro-lifers in general, and I belong to them, I would accept even if I don't think that it's moral per se, to do an abortion to quote unquote save someone's life. Now, some people think that sounds cruel, obviously, but just because there's a case where 2 people will die unless you kill one, it doesn't follow you should kill one. Like if I need a new heart and I'm going to be dead in 3 months and Frank is my donor and he has a disease and he's going to die in 6 months and doesn't want to give it to me. Well, it's not moral to kill Frank and give his heart to me to save one. It's just a case where 2 people are going to die. There's nothing we can do about it. You can't kill one person to save another. I don't think you should kill the child to save the mother, and I don't think you should kill the mother to save the child. So on the legal punishment thing, I support laws where there's just like all universally, this has been, at least in the United States, laws to allow abortion if a woman's life is in danger. So I'm fine with that.
Wait, what? Did I misunderstand? Hold on.
And doesn't want to give it to me. Well, it's not moral to kill Frank and give his heart to me to save one. It's just a case where 2 people are going to die. There's nothing we can do about it. You can't kill one person to save another. I don't think you should kill the child to save the mother, and I don't think you should kill the mother to save the child. Okay. So on the legal punishment thing, I support laws where there's just like all universally, this has been, at least in the United States, laws to allow abortion if a woman's life is in danger. So I'm fine with that. But other kinds of legal punishment, that I would say, I don't want to dwell too much on that because that's more of a legal question than a strictly philosophical question. And I think we agree that that's why in my book I compared like a feticide law to an infanticide law, because even like when women kill their infants, many times they're punished much less severely than if they had killed an adult stranger. But most people would say that it's still wrong. It's still wrong to kill infants, even if the punishment is much less severe because there's exigent circumstances. So I don't think my position is undermined in that way. And if it is, the value of
Whoa. Did he just say it's less wrong to kill infants than adults? If I had to guess, I'm super guessing here. Somebody can link me a law or whatever. That's the case. It's probably generally less severe, because my guess is that the types of people, especially mothers that kill their infants, probably have a ton of mitigating circumstances, like they are, like they're super depressed or postpartum or something crazy is going on. Not that like somebody just like maliciously murdered some infants, but because they're infants, you get less of a penalty for it. That would be my guess legally.
Infants would be undermined similarly than the difference of punishments in those cases.
I was just thinking, I mean, it's true laws can recognize extenuating circumstances and stuff. I was just thinking, you grant that your view implies legal punishment in some cases. You want feticide laws. And I'm saying, premise, that's a false implication. That's very counterintuitive.
Well, I mean, but we support those kinds of penalties for people that kill wanted fetuses. Like if you commit an act of violence against a pregnant woman in order to kill her fetus, whether a man or a woman did that. Let's say they're very mad at
this is true and kind of dumb
to hurt
legally,
her
I think,
by just intentionally killing her unborn child. Many people are very sympathetic to giving punishment in that case, including a punishment that is rightly labeled homicide. Many people don't find that counterintuitive at all, and that would support my view.
They might not find that counterintuitive, but they find this other thing counterintuitive.
Well, then I got to ask them, what's the difference? If in one case you kill the pregnant woman's fetus against her will, you call that homicide. The pregnant woman kills her own fetus, it's fine. The only framework I think that can get around that would be like a boon in bodily rights type thing. But if it's a personhood
thing, surely
thing,
that's relevant somehow, I think. I mean, I think it's obvious that these things are not morally equivalent, which you don't grant, I guess. But I think most people will think clearly these things are not morally equivalent.
Well, then I'd ask them to ask why aren't they morally equivalent? And some people, they find it very, very difficult to come up with a compelling answer to that question. Or they end up, or in my case, when I've asked that question, people have changed their minds and do find them morally equivalent. In order to be consistent.
Should we move on to this final?
I want to talk about well, there's violence and embryo rescue. So can we do both of those?
Yeah, Dustin, did you say you have to leave it in some point?
I should really leave in like 5 minutes.
Okay, let me try to be real fast with this.
3 minutes and then we'll just all...
What house is it? It's Louisiana brand house. This is a good house. and their chicken strips, Raising Cane's.
Let's do a closing. We won't do closing statements, right?
Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's not your fault.
Yeah. The violence thing. The idea, real fast. Are you saying that if pro-lifers were consistent, they would engage in acts of violence against those that support abortion in order to protect the unborn?
No, I said there are certain cases where if you try to control for potential political blowback, if you think, oh, this is really the only way to stop one that's imminently going to happen, if you think that what's going to happen is an act of murder, like other acts of murder, then it seems like you should be willing to use violence to stop it. Just like you would use, if somebody read Peter Singer and was going to kill their 1-year-old, it would be appropriate to use violence to stop them.
Well, do you think that if someone reads Peter Singer and believes that factory farming causes a level of suffering that is even greater than the Holocaust, that they would then be justified, provided it didn't provide political blowback, to commit acts of violence against those who operate factory farms?
What is the relevance?
Well, I'm just saying, does your principle, like, let's say someone...
Yeah, it looks like that view implies that there are possible cases where you would be justified in using violence to stop factory farming.
Right, but even if you do reach that conclusion, it would not undermine the ethical argument against factory farming.
Well, it might. I mean, if that's really an implication of the view, it might. There are people who talk about whether this is some sort of unacceptably counterintuitive implication or something.
Right, so I'll just be fast.
Yeah, Trent, you can have the final.
Yeah,
Trent,
I'm
you
just
can have the
going to
final
say
word on this.
that if this particular argument does not refute ethical veganism, because you could say if ethical veganism were true, then these particular kinds of acts could be justified, political blowback, yada yada yada. I think a similar move could be made towards what I am saying.
This guy, I think on the bottom, knows way more philosophy than me. Actually, all three of these guys probably do. But I feel like I feel like we're confusing meta and normative ethics here, or rather there's a game being played between the two. It could be that on a meta ethical level, we could say a thing is bad, but normative ethics, the way that we would apply whatever understanding of what goodness or badness is, might make it so that we would or wouldn't carry out a particular type of action, right? So I don't think we would ever decide on what is good or bad necessarily based on the outcome of something related to that good or bad thing. That would be more of a normative ethics question. Like, would we apply this to the lens of virtue ethics, consequentialism, or deontology? But I don't think we would ever use a normative ethical thing to disprove or prove a meta-ethical thing. I don't think. Maybe. I don't think.
Though I do think that ultimately what has made the pro-life movement so successful that other people, even liberal pro-choice commentators, have noticed it's been an incredibly, given how many people are in the movement, it's been incredibly nonviolent in comparison to how many people are involved and the stakes that are involved. And I guess the last one was Embryo Rescue, the classic IVF clinic.
Yeah.
As I said, these are both things which lie, I think you meant to say, squarely in the domain of normative ethics. Meta-ethics about facts, about ethics themselves. What sounds like he's saying that if your ethical view were to justify killing factory farmed things, and that's like a really bad outcome, then therefore you would change your view of animal suffering as being moral or immoral or whatever. But I don't think that should, I don't think what you think good or bad is should ever change based on the framework that you apply things as, no?
Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to get to that.
But that was the fake. Okay, I'm just gonna throw something true out there really fast. Okay,
that's fine. Just like 30 seconds.
First, I think if you change it, you change the intuitions. If it's 5 pregnant women and 5 regular women, people will save the 5 pregnant women, and that's not the same if it's 5 fertile women or 5 infertile women. And I'm going to throw a crazy curveball out there because this is a fun crazy curveball channel. In Catholic moral theology, there is a question about whether it is appropriate to adopt frozen embryos. And some Catholic moral theologians say it is immoral to cause a pregnancy with a frozen embryo. It's against natural law, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, most regular people who answer the IVF clinic scenario don't think about this stuff. But you could have a consistent response that basically, like I've thought about this more. Maybe the reason I don't rescue the embryos for me is because I think that it's immoral to implant them and continue a pregnancy so that those embryos will never have a conscious existence. So it'd be similar to 100 permanently comatose individuals and a 2-year-old. I would say that they're all persons, but I might save one versus another. I don't know. So I wish we had more time. It'd be so fun to talk about. Maybe we could do a writing back and forth on this.
Do you want like 30 seconds to respond, or
I don't know. Or...
Oh no! There's any way it is. You could make the hypothetical absurd, but we can stay within the realm of reality. Hasn't there been a woman who gave birth to 8 kids before? It's possible. It's incredibly rare, right? Octomom. But imagine, like, if there were 4 people that you could save a family of 4, or you could save a woman who just got pregnant. She's 1 month pregnant, and she has like 6 fetuses inside of her body. Should you always save? That's 7 people. The 6 fetus woman or the family of 4. That would be a way to test that hypothetical for like the embryo thing.
I don't think that the premise of that is plausible. So, and I don't think that's what Trivariate intuition is there.
Okay, so thank you guys both for coming on. I really appreciated this. It was a civil conversation, which is rare these days, a civil conversation about abortion. So yeah, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciated both your guys' stuff. Again, links in the description. And yeah, what better way to end is there than I'm Joe Schmidt. This is the Majesty of Reason, and peace out. Okay, so let me hit stop recording. Whoa!
I should have a thing like this when he's shooting hoops. He's got like, this is like a 4-minute outro. Okay. Jesus.